Hello students, right here one more time. Today you got practice problems for section 11.4. I should have already done here. We'd be checking them, go over them, make sure you did them correctly. As always, if you got any questions, make sure you ask. You need to understand the material. In 11.4 we're working with percent yield. And First question, really simple. We're just trying to find the percent yield, and our old formula for percent yield, you should have in your notes already, is percent yield equals actual yield divided by theoretical yield. So for this problem, all we need to do is take 20 grams divided by 25 grams. If the bottom number, grams divide out, if the bottom number happens to go into 100, real easy to do without a calculator, because percent just means out of 100. So if I just multiply 25 by 4, I get 100. So I do the 20 times 4, get 80, which means we got 80% yield. Another one, just same thing. Should have done 42 grams divided by 55 grams. And then here we would have divided and we're going to keep 2 sig figs, so you'd get 0.72, which is 72% yield. So if bottom number doesn't go into 100, or you just don't want to mess with that part of it, you divide them, get a decimal, move your decimal twice, or you could type in your calculator times 100. Doesn't matter. But in either case, you got 72%. Here we got 4.9 grams divided by 5.2 grams. Dividing, move our decimal a couple times, or multiply by 100, 2 sig figs, 94% yield. And then at number 12, we move into switching it around just a little bit. So as we had a little bit ago, our formula is percent yield. Now I'm going to do a little abbreviating, equals actual yield. Actual yield divided by theoretic yield. So we want to find the actual yield. So we just rearrange it to actual yield equals theoretic yield times your percent yield. And make sure at this percent yield you get it as a decimal. When you do the calculations, you always want it as a decimal. When we report it, we use it as a percent. So in this case, we have our actual yield then is going to be 20 grams. And we're just taking 95% of that, or 0.95. And we'll keep 2 sig figs. 20 grams, actually only 1 sig fig, but I think they probably meant it to be 2. So we'll keep it as 2, 19 grams. Otherwise, we'd have had 20 for both of them, and that wouldn't have really made sense. And a couple more the same way. Here we'd have 75 grams times 0.88, which is going to be excuse me, 66 grams. see. Got 9.2 grams times 0.62, and that gives us 5.7 grams. One more time, we just had 2 sig figs. And number 13, well, more in-depth problem, where we combine things we've done earlier with the percent yield. So this time we want to calculate the theoretic yield and the percent yield. And they say we started with this, or we ended up with this, and we started up here. So this is our actual yield. But we got to figure out our theoretic yield. So we start with it using a little stoichiometry, 10.0 grams of the magnesium. And change it to moles. So 1 mole of magnesium is 24.305 grams of magnesium. Grams of magnesium divide out to grams of magnesium. And then using our mole ratio from our chemical equation, looks like our chemical equation is balanced. You always want to make sure it's balanced. So in this case we have 1 mole of magnesium and 1 mole of magnesium chloride, because that's what we're trying to end up with, magnesium chloride. So 1 mole MgCl2 for every 1 mole Mg. 1 mole Mg divides out to 1 mole of Mg. And then we switch it to grams, so 1 mole MgCl2 is the same as, figuring our molar mass from the periodic table, 95.211 grams of the MgCl2. 1 mole of MgCl2 divides out with 1 mole of MgCl2. A little bit of calculations here, and we end up with 39.2 grams of MgCl2, and that is our theoretic yield. If everything went perfect in this reaction, that's how much we'd have come up with. But we only came up with, our actual yield was 29.5 grams. So we're going to divide that by our theoretic yield, 39.2 grams. It's like we did on our first problems we looked at today. And here we're working with 3 sig figs, so we'll take it out to 75.3% yield. So a little bit on percent yield. Should be pretty easy stuff if you have the stoichiometry part down good. So that's it for now. Till next time, strike.